Reed once again proved to be the class of the 250 field. The Australian assassin dominated SBC Park, earning his 4th win in 6 races. Meanwhile, Honda privateer Damon Huffman continued his battle to stay atop the World Supercross GP point standings. The veteran is challenged by KTM factory star Grant Langston. The aggressive South African is chasing his first Supercross Championship. It's going to be a Texas-sized celebration next on ESPN2.
Welcome to Houston, Texas, and Reliant Stadium for the THQ World Supercross GP and the THQ AMA Supercross Series. As we welcome you to Houston, where we are celebrating 30 years of Supercross racing. Hello once again, everybody. Todd Harris, along with my good friend Cameron Steele. Cameron, the story, Chad Reed. He has won 4 of 6 races, but this week, maybe the biggest story is Kevin Windham getting back his points.
For sure, Windham goes to the AMA headquarters back in Ohio. Independent Arbitration Board gives him back his points. The problem is, although Windham's won 2 races, he needs to be more consistent when he's not winning, because right now it's a 23-point gap to Chad Reed.
Right now, let's take a look at our point standings, and it all leads up to Las Vegas, the official destination of Supercross. On the THQ AMA side, it is Chad Reed leading. He is followed, as Cameron pointed out, by Kevin Windham, then David Vuillemin, and Mike LaRocco. So it should be a great run as we get set to make the turn up north in Minneapolis, Minnesota. On the World Supercross GP side, it's Grant Langston, Damon Huffman. They seem to be interchangeable, and this week, Grant Langston had a little run-in with Michael Byrne.
He did, and the AMA actually originally docked him 5 seconds, moving him back a couple spots, but it didn't hurt his world standings because the FIM doesn't rate the guys that weren't at those first 2 rounds in Europe. So he did end up getting his points back from the AMA and his position. So 1 point separates those guys in the battle, but hey, also watch out for Heath Voss. He had good lap time today, and he is 3rd in that point race right now.
It all leads up to Las Vegas, as we said, the official destination of Supercross. As we take a look at our THQ World Supercross GP points, and there you see how it stands. This one will almost be too close to call. We'll probably be deciding this one when we finally do get to Las Vegas. Right now, we are almost set to go racing here in Reliant Stadium. As we mentioned, 30 years of racing in this great place. Let's go down and check out the MX Unleashed track experience.
Here we go, jumping on board with Andrew Short, Team MotoWorldRacing.com. You want to see what it's like in Supercross? Strap in and watch the left side. This can be a triple with the taller second landing. It will be tricky if guys go for it. You may not be able to do it every lap. Right side, what you're seeing from the stands, you can see this section. You jump double in, you can triple into this gully, or you can actually triple over the whole thing. Outside, a little bit more in the way of obstacles, but carrying more speed. Riders will be jumping to the inside here a lot of times. Andrew going to the outside, electing to step over that piece. There's not a lot of little areas to go faster in that spot, regardless of which side you go. Then a 65-foot triple right turn, shift it up. Probably 3rd gear, blazing to the whoops. Watch here, though. There is a rolled, wider whoop right in there. It's going to be hard for the guys to carry speed every single time. The left turn backwards down the start straight, and then something a little bit unusual going into the finish line jump. Well, we got some whoops. That is your MX Unleashed track experience. So 250 heat number 1 staging on the line before we release the hounds. Let's send it down to Jamie Little.
Well, Todd, you guys know Nathan Ramsey just coming off a 125 win in San Francisco last weekend. Here he is back on the 450, and he says thanks to Kevin Windham, who's to his left, this bike is better than it's ever been before. Should be good stuff, guys.
All right, thank you very much, Jamie. As we take a look at our starting grid here for 250 heat number 1, Kevin Windham, David Vuillemin, Damon Huffman, Nick Way all in there, and Tyler Evans. Onboard camera being done by Andrew T. Short out of Murrieta, California on the Suzuki RM250, MotoWorldRacing.com. Wish Andrew the very best. Nice view right there. That'd be a union guy pretty soon, Cameron, the way he's shooting.
He's been doing a great job, and actually has been riding the bike awesome.
No question about it. As we take a look at our format for tonight, the menu on hand, a lot of great 250 racing, 2 heats, 2 semis, and an LCQ, all building up to the main event. 20 riders going 20 laps. Houston 2003 winner, none other than Chad Reed. In fact, the last 6 years have been 2-time repeaters, with Ricky Carmichael winning the 2 years before that, and
Jeremy McGrath winning the 2 years before that. So Chad Reed trying to join a very exclusive club, trying to pick up back-to-back victories in Houston, Texas. As we said at the top of the show, 30 years of Supercross racing in this great city of Houston, just next door in the Astrodome. Now we're in the beautiful Reliant Stadium. As the 30 board goes up, this is 250 heat number 1. 20 riders. They're going 8 laps. The top 4 of the main event, 5 through 20 to semi 1. The board is sideways.
And a 4.5-foot elevation they'll be dropping in on. There's the gate. Oh, Windham right to the front. This is the closest race to his home. Watch the triple. Oh, overjumped that first triple in that rhythm section, Todd. They can triple through there. He's only about 5 hours by car from home.
David Vuillemin pulls up on the inside of him, decides not to show him a bit of a wheel this early in the race, but it's Kevin Windham out in front. David Vuillemin in second place, and the rest of the pack, remember, they're all racing for 4 positions to the main event, the automatic transfer. So it's Windham and Vuillemin, 1 and 2.
Vuillemin had some great lap times in practice, actually better than Kevin's. So we'll see if he can make some time. The whoops seem to have been a spot where Vuillemin has really been making his time. Look at him race through the whoops and actually looked like he pulled up just a bit on Kevin Windham's tire.
Tyler Evans now sits in 3rd place as they come through. Number 74 is Eric Vallejo. He is in 4th place. So it's Windham, Vuillemin, Evans, and Vallejo. Nick Way on board the Suzuki, number 27, checking in the top 5. So Nick Way is on the outside looking in. Remember, it's the top 4 that move on to the main event, and races are at a premium. These guys have been racing the last 2 days, and they're not going to want to do an extra race if they don't have to, Cameron.
And Vuillemin, ever the colorful character from what I hear, he's been saying on the internet that he's going to be upset if Windham gets his points back, and he's going to be on a tear. And, well, right now, he looks like he's on a tear. And, you know, I've heard in the past that Vuillemin needs to get upset to do his best riding. And, well, he's pulling in on a guy that's won 2 Supercrosses so far this year. Watch him in the woods. As you see, it looked like the 3rd place rider go down back there in the back of your picture.
Tyler Evans, number 58, having some problems, and he's in a very precarious position, making everyone split around him. Meanwhile, out in front, there's Nathan Ramsey coming through, and I think Tyler Evans has got some mechanical problems or something. Finally gets the bike back up and running again. But to the front of the pack we go. It is Windham and Vuillemin. If you're just joining us, Kevin Windham won in Phoenix, our 2nd stop. But on the first lap, he got together with David Vuillemin. The AMA ruled that it was rough riding. They docked him 10 points. This past week, he appealed. He got his 10 points back. So these are the 2 principal characters in that incident in Phoenix, Arizona. This is 250, heat number 1, the top 4 going to the main event. And right now, Windham and Vuillemin are just running away with this.
They are checking out, and, well, Windham knows that Vuillemin wants to mix it up with them, so probably a smart move by Kevin trying to stay out of there. But David, if you watch him, he's really attacking all the obstacles, and that's one thing we talk about Chad Reed all the time. On the gas, just every second he can be downsiding everything as quickly and as smoothly as possible, and that kind of looks like how David's riding right now.
No question, Chad Reed has some of the quickest exit speed out of corners, and it looks like David Vuillemin is doing that tonight. A slight bobble right there, but he is staying right behind number 14, your leader, Kevin Windham, who sits 2nd overall in the points. David Vuillemin sits 3rd overall in the THQ AMA points.
Well, it seems like that one area there where they have the rhythm section, Kevin gets the better of him, pulls away a little bit, and then Vuillemin seems to pull up in the whoops. So we'll watch as they head through the whoops this next time. I don't know if there's a way for David to find any more speed there to pick it up on Kevin. Let's take a look and watch him charge here.
And look how Vuillemin starts on the, Kevin Windham starts on the left side of the whoop section as he goes through, Cameron. He moves his way all the way to the right, setting himself perfect for a nice exit using the Byrne. As they come through one more time, it is Kevin Windham out in front. David Vuillemin sits in 2nd place. This is 250, heat number 1. We're taking the top 4 to the main. We'll be back to Houston, Texas after this short break. Welcome back to Reliant Stadium in Houston, Texas, as we go on board with Andrew Short. Andrew Short running our helmet cam for us tonight. And right now, Short sits in 5th position. So, Cameron, he needs to move up one more spot as he battles with Eric Vallejo.
Well, what you couldn't see out the side of Andrew's helmet, he's got clear track in front of him, but he has moved clearly in to that transfer position. And 4th place, Vallejo going down as they were battling. And there's the triple. Yeah, that looks sick going there, but watch the whoops on the gas. Andrew Short.
So Andrew Short, by virtue of an Eric Vallejo get-off, has moved into 4th place as we are coming down to the final lap of this race. This is 250 heat number 1. Kevin Windham on top. David Vuillemin has been chasing him ever since the get-go. And it looks like Vuillemin's had his problems because now the gap is open to about 50 yards. Windham and Claire, as you see Nick Way going through number 32, is also Andrew Short right in the helmet cam.
And Andrew had a frustrating time on the West Coast 125 series, just not having the finishes he wanted. I'm not sure if he thought it was the 4-strokes because the 4-strokes were so dominant here. Ironically, here in Houston, a lot of the East Coast riders are riding 125 2-stroke bikes, but now Andrew has moved up to the 250 class, and he's looking great. He's actually pulling up, or trying to get closer to his Suzuki teammate, but factory team rider Nick Way from Michigan. And Nick working it through the whoops. You can see right about there, there's that section where the whoop rolled, and there's a gap. It's a little bit tougher to keep your momentum going, but Andrew doing a great job on the 250.
Andrew Short, Nick Way, very talented young riders. We take a look at your leader on the final lap. The white flag is out. This is Kevin Windham as we take a look at our T-cell running orders. He gives a wave out to the fans here in Houston, Texas. It's Windham, Vuillemin, Way, and Short, the top 4 positions right now. And it's pretty clear cut, Cameron. The track has held up very well. Kevin Windham putting on a great show. David Vuillemin hung with him for the first 4 or 5 laps, but he just seemed to back off towards the end, whether it was on purpose or he just ran out of steam there. Kevin Windham bringing around one more turn. He's got to contend with a lap rider, but he will take the checkered flags. Your winner, 250 heat number 1, Kevin Windham. As we take a look at the official results, 250 heat number 1, number 14, Kevin Windham on board the Honda picks up the victory. David Vuillemin gets second, then Nick Way and Andrew Short rounding out your top 4, moving on to the main event. Right now, let's go down to Jamie Little.
Well, Kevin Windham's got to be so happy right now. We've gone south, closer to your home, your kind of dirt. What kind of difference is that making tonight?
Well, it makes a lot of difference. Home has kind of become the West Coast, so I'm so used to riding out there, but it feels so good to get home and see my friends and family, and this Houston, Texas crowd. You know, I grew up here in Texas, and it feels good. It's cold outside, but we'll heat it up in here tonight.
All right, things are getting exciting, guys. Take it away.
So we move on to 250 heat number 2, and this one is absolutely loaded. Chad Reed, Mike LaRocco, Michael Byrne in there now, Grant Langston, Heath Voss, and good to see Tim Ferry, Cameron, back up and riding.
He had an injury, I believe, to his wrist, and he just wasn't ready to ride, and I know he's been wanting to, but back on the bike, and he actually took a tumble in practice, too. Not a big one, but anytime you're already sore, getting off the bike definitely isn't a lot of fun. And the 2 fastest practice riders today in this heat, Chad Reed and Mike LaRocco.
Well, we're on board with Ryan Clark. The 30 board is sideways. We are racing again as they drop down that quick face. And look at Chad Reed, number 22, goes right to the front of the pack.
Well, hopefully we have some competition right behind. It looks like Michael Byrne.
Oh, look at that.
Mike Byrne goes to the front as you're looking on board with Ryan Clark on the Team Solitaire bike. Action up front aplenty.
So Chad Reed, unaccustomed to being shoved out of the first place position, but here he comes again. The Australians out in front as they take a look at each other. Chad Reed this time has the inside line. He goes back to first, Michael Byrne to second, and Grant Langston sitting in third.
I was talking to Michael Byrne earlier today, and he said, I raced with, Chad Reed back in Australia. He did better a lot of the time. Sometimes I did better, but I know I can run with him. I just need to get up there and get going. And, he's new to that factory 250 Kawasaki, but he says he really loves it and things are working well.
Well, I can top that. I played basketball with Michael Byrne last week at Oakley, and the guy is the wrangliest guy around. He got more rebounds. I couldn't believe it. He's not that tall, but he's a tough competitor. As they come through, it's number 22, Chad Reed, out in front. He is your leader on board the Yamaha. Right behind him is number 26, Michael Byrne, flying the colors of Kawasaki. And then in third, it's number 8, Grant Langston on board the KTM.
You see him over jumping just a little bit going into that, well, kind of a canyon triple landing, and kind of landed on the upside of that elevated corner. And you don't want to do that because obviously it's tough on the motorcycle, but it's also tough on your body. In Supercross, you really got to nail all the landings and everything perfect. It could throw you off just that one bit, but could throw you off that whole straightaway, that whole section.
Number 22, Chad Reed, he comes into view, and look at this, Michael Byrne having problems. Byrne almost threw a little get off. He has to let Grant Langston go by, and then Langston has a problem and gives it right back to Byrne. Chad Reed stalls out the corner. You got to be kidding me. So Byrne, after all that, goes back to into second. Chad Reed, number 22, maintains his lead. And Grant Langston sits in third, but Langston now coming up on the outside of Michael Byrne. Is there anyone more silky smooth than Chad Reed? He didn't panic. The bike bogged down in the corner, and he still goes out in front.
And Mike LaRocco on the number 5 Factory Connection Honda. He had, as I said, some of the fastest times of practice, actually the second fastest time, and he has been on the move. And Grant Langston still looking for a way around Byrne. Now, this is a technical track in some areas, but skip it over right there, that little triple section. This is all kind of one line. Grant looking to the inside briefly. Let's see how they go through the whoops. Grant looking to the left. Will he have the inside on this corner for the drive? Oh, and keeping it clean. Remember, these two guys got together, and Grant Langston was fine, but then he did get the time back, the 5-second penalty, so he's definitely thinking about that as he drives into corners on the inside of Byrne.
250 heat number 2 just shows how international this event and this sport has become. The Australians going 1 and 2, a South African sitting in third, and the American Mike LaRocco holding down the 4th transfer position. As I was going to mention earlier, look how tight they're getting, Cameron. Usually at this point, they're spread out a little bit more. There you see Chad Reed in the distance. Michael Byrne going through. There's Grant Langston, 8, and number 5 on the Honda is Mike LaRocco.
The birthday boy, I might add, from South Bend area in Indiana, Mike LaRocco, having his birthday on Thursday, and I was asking him about him all. What about a birthday win? He's like, I'm definitely making it. I'm trying to push hard to see if we can get our first win.
So Mike LaRocco has 6 rounds, 6 top 5 finishes, and there have been 11 podiums by Yamaha. That's 7 podiums. We'll have more on that as we continue to race here in 250 heat number 2. We're in Reliant Stadium as you take a look at your running order. We'll be back with more right after this. Welcome back to Houston, Texas for the Honda All Access. Despite the rain, the wind, and the cold, the fans are turning out here at Reliant Stadium in droves. Welcome back to Reliant Stadium, Houston, Texas. You are watching a Houston-sized battle, Texas-sized dueling here in the Reliant Stadium. It is Byrne and Langston, Langston and Byrne, and this time it is Langston who gets the better of Michael Byrne. Grant Langston on board the KTM number 8. Number 26 on board the Kawasaki is Michael Byrne. It's South Africa against Australia in this battle. Meanwhile, your leader out front is number 22, Chad Reed.
And sneaking into the picture continually, the number 5, the USA representative, Mike LaRocco, also known as The Rock. But impressive right now is Grant Langston having a good race. Remember, last week he had a pretty vicious get-off in practice. He was banged up. He had a cut on his face. He says he's feeling great. Bike's working great. And right now he's proven it running second in this heat.
Grant Langston showing that he's tougher than South African Biltong, has a strong grip over second place right now. Michael Byrne drifting back into third, and Byrne is not out of the hot woods yet. Right behind him is Mike LaRocco on board the Honda, number 5. There is Byrne, number 26, on board the Kawasaki. He looked very good early pushing Chad Reed, but now he's got to do a little bit of a fracas with Langston and now LaRocco.
LaRocco is definitely happy to get on some different dirt. You know, he stays in Southern California all the time, and he's not really opposed to the hard dirt. Definitely likes the traction. There's going to be some ruts developing. It all is kind of going to play into his hands, he seemed to think earlier today. And right now, putting some time on Byrne. Let's see how the wolf run goes. Let's see if Mike can actually get a charge going. You see Byrne dropping right there. LaRocco dropping a bit as well, but not as much. Will he have the run going into this corner, into the final corner?
The white flag is out, which means we are on our final lap here at 250 heat number 2 as we give you a quick rundown of your leader. Number 22, Chad Reed out in front. Number 8, Grant Langston on board the KTM sits in second. And then number 26, Michael Byrne to the right of your screen on board the Kawasaki in third. Mike LaRocco and his Honda number 5 sits in fourth. The top 4 will move on to the main event.
And that's something that's a good thing to point out, Todd, because LaRocco doesn't have to get by Michael Byrne in kind of a weird section there. He didn't get that triple before the triple, and that's going to hurt him time-wise, and he doesn't need to pass him. It helps with your pick on the starting gate. The better you finish in your heat race, the better you're going to get the pick.
Coming around for the last corner, number 22, Chad Reed. He will take the checkered flag. one of the silkiest, smooth riders on the planet. Chad Reed is so quick out of the turns, so quick to the whoops, and he picks up a victory here in 250 heat number 2. Grant Langston will get second. Michael Byrne gets third, just barely holding off Mike LaRocco. As we take a look at our final results for 250 heat number 2 from Houston, Texas, it's Chad Reed picking up the victory. Grant Langston, Michael Byrne, and Mike LaRocco all moving on to the main event. Sean Hamlin will have to go to a semi. Right now, let's send it down to Jamie.
Well, Todd, Chad Reed had a little bit of competition there in the beginning, but Chad, I got to ask you about the first lap. It looked like you might have stalled, but you didn't panic.
Yeah, I made a couple of small mistakes in the race, and just changed that for the main event. I got a great start, and like San Diego, I got the whole shot there too. Must be something about the elevated start. So I was having fun. I want to thank all the guys at Yamaha, give me a great bike. The guys at Thor, Putz Unlimited, and Bridgestone. Everyone's been real good to me, and I'm just trying to get out there and win as many races as possible.
Hey, you guys, how about Grant Langston putting in a solid ride there?
All right, thank you very much, Jamie. There's a look at our upcoming races. On the 21st, that's next week, we're going to Minneapolis, Minnesota, and then it's down to Atlanta, Georgia. We had a short break. On March 13th, we'll be in St. Louis, Missouri, and the Edward Jones Dome. Talk to your travel agent and see if you can join us live. Right now, it's time for the Suzuki Question of the Week.
Can you please explain the difference between a two-stroke and a four-stroke?
The first difference between the four-stroke and the two-stroke is that the two-stroke sounds a lot cooler than the four-stroke. The four-stroke is loud and noisy, where the two-stroke sounds good, crisp, and clean. The other thing I've noticed that the four-strokes seem to get a good start because they have good traction coming out of the gate, but they don't seem to hit as hard coming out of the corners and in between the rhythm sections. That's why I prefer the two-stroke, and I'm sticking to my guns, and I'm having a lot of fun riding the RM125 and 250. Thank you for asking the Suzuki Question of the Week.
All right, thank you very much, Andrew. We wish you the best of luck. Right now, it's time to take a look at our Thor qualifying highlights. In semifinal number 1, it was number 74, Eric Vallejo, picking up the victory. In semi 2, on board a Suzuki, Sean Hamlin got the win. And in the last chance qualifier, number 64, James Pavoni Jr.
So let's take a look at our Thor qualifying results. Semi number 1, Vallejo, Evans, Ramsey, Huffman, and Brown. And in semifinal number 2 is Hamlin, Voss, Ferry, Renard, and Clark. Coming through the LCQ were Pavoni and Thomas, just missing out Alof.
Coming up, the 250 main event from Houston, Texas. Can Kevin Windham work his magic, or will the Australian Chad Reed once again rise to the occasion? Stay with us. The main is next. We're in Reliant Stadium for the THQ AMA Supercross Series and the THQ World Supercross GP. It's the 250 main event. Staging up on the line, Chad Reed and company should be good as we take a look at Damon Huffman. Here's a guy who's in a points battle trying to get in there and get some of that World Supercross GP points. So he definitely needs a great performance tonight at Reliant Stadium. Todd Harris along with Cameron Steele and Jamie Little. We are expecting a great main event. Right now it's time for the Nissan Rider Profile.
Well, people at home, if you're checking out the 3Xs, you're at the Moto XXX pit, and well, we're hanging out with the guy that's leading the World Championships points battle, Damon Huffman, or H. Diddy, or the Diesel, as he likes to call himself now. That's the new nickname. What's up with all the nicknames?
I'm not sure. You can blame it on P. Diddy or Jeff Emig. Emig had the Pro Daddy, then I was the Huff Daddy. The Diesel's kind of a nickname I came up with over in Europe. It kind of takes me a while to get going, but then I just keep on going. I think I ride really graceful, and don't get me wrong, I'm strong. I'm really strong, and I have endurance that just keeps on going. But it's a combination of my riding style and just letting the bike do all the work for me.
You won championships in the past. What's it take here to move on forward, take down, the big money's on the line, 100 grand? You feeling nervous?
I'm just playing it cool, and one race at a time, and I want to do good every race and stay up there. And the main thing is to be injury-free. Make it through every round. And it's a long season, and still a long ways to go, but for sure I want to win that.
Okay, part of that was a PR answer, but do you guys feel like you know Damon Huffman way better? Remember, the 20, the Diesel, the Moto XXX, we got to go.
As we take a look at the start here, it's an elevated start. That's something we haven't seen since San Diego, and this start is extremely elevated. For more on the track and those conditions, let's check in with Jamie Little.
All right, guys, the dirt here is soft and very tacky. Because of that, it ruts up easily. Right now, I'm looking at 12 different lines, and you know what that means? There's usually a lot of passing going on and some really good racing.
On board with number 32, Andrew T. Short out of Murrieta, California, the Suzuki RM250, MotoWorldRacing.com. He will be running our helmet cam. Now, Cameron, he's got a kind of a tough starting position as we take a look at our starting grid. Brought to us by Suzuki because he's got some of the best riders, well, not some of, he's got the best riders in the world, pinching him in there with Windham, Reed, Vuillemin, Langston, Nick Way, all to his left. He's going to have some hard time getting to that first turn.
You pick by where you qualify or how early you qualify, and he's all the way to the inside. Reed had second pick, Windham first. They're side by side, and the board is sideways.
250 main event from Houston, Texas. Grant Langston with a great inside line, but it's 22. Chad Reed who will pick up the Butterfinger hole shot. Chad Reed making no doubt about it. Looked like Langston had the right line, but he didn't have the drive coming out, and Reed just slingshot it to the outside. So Chad Reed leading him into the first part of this opening lap, 250 main. We're going 20 laps. It's Reed and Langston going 1 and 2.
Well, Jamie talked about the ruts, so let's see if they play a part of this. What happens with the ruts? It makes it hard to choose your line sometimes. If you get a little cross-threaded, it's going to throw you off. It might set off your timing. Where there's been flat corners, there's ruts developing, and that was one of the spots as they go over the triple. Chad Reed has been perfect in the whoops. Let's see how he rails them here.
Reed absolutely blitzing the whoop section. He brings it around, so he will be the first to see the green flag. We're going 20 laps, 250 main from Houston. Chad Reed out in front. Number 22 on the Yamaha. Grant Langston, number 8 on the KTM, sits in second. And number 27, Nick Way on the Suzuki, sits in third as we take a look at the Butterfinger hole shot replay.
We talked about how Chad was lined up with Kevin Windham. Another good start for Eric Vallejo, but Chad Reed just gets it and nails that hole shot. Has great line all the way through. Only rider able to triple out of it in that rhythm section as well.
Chad Reed, absolutely one of the smoothest riders out there. He always hits everything almost exactly right. You got to get him early, folks, because this guy is absolutely perfect when he gets a bit of a lead. Right now, he's got a sizable lead as we go back to the pack. Langston sits in second, number 8 on the KTM, and here comes Kevin Windham. Number 14 on board the Honda, fresh off his appeal, picking up his 10 points. Look at the drive he's got to the whoops.
Picking up a spot, maybe here.
Yep.
Nick Way going outside in, and he gets it done. He needs to get through these guys as quick as possible if he wants to battle with Chad Reed. He had a better time in his heat race, but maybe that was because he was being chased by Vuillemin and Chad might have cruised. But right now, moving up into third place, he needs to work quick.
Chad Reed, number 14 on board the Honda. He's on a 4-stroke out of Centerville, Mississippi. Grew up in Texas, so he's got a lot of fans here rooting for him. We saw him fast in practice, not as fast as we thought. Is this a case of him kind of sandbagging where you think, well, I'm going to lay low, I'm not going to show everyone my lines, Cameron? Or do you think he just kind of takes a while to build up a full head of steam?
Well, he was about 3/4 of a second off, so I don't think sandbagging was a factor here. Maybe, but I'm not sure. Kevin loves to play the mental game. His mechanic, Jonathan Highland, said, hey, a lot of what we do is mental. Kevin has been on his game, and he looks good right now. He's not catching Grant Langston that quickly, but they are staying within reach of Chad Reed.
And that's the key right now. Grant Langston on that last drive towards the right-hand turn took a look over his shoulder, and Kevin Windham is coming. Here comes Windham on the inside. He triples through there. Langston has no answer for him, and it's Windham who shuts the door.
And on that last lap, the fastest lap went to Kevin Windham. Reed just a little bit off, so Kevin Windham may be reeling in just a little bit, but now he has clear sailing in front of him. May be able to pick up his pace just a little bit.
If it was anyone else, I'd say Kevin Windham's going to get him eventually, but Chad Reed is so smooth in these situations. I think what you pointed out, Cameron, is the mental aspect. If Kevin can get close enough to Chad to make him start thinking, make him start questioning his line, I think he's got a shot, but Chad is so absolutely smooth in these kind of races, Kevin's going to have to put some serious pressure on him. Here's the battle for fourth. Excuse me, Cameron. That's Nick Way, number 27 on the Suzuki. Mike LaRocco, number 5 on the Honda, and LaRocco's going to get him.
Gets around using some good moves outside in. We talked about it being his birthday weekend. He'd love to get back on the podium, and sitting in fourth place right now is a good spot, but he's going to have to move quickly to get up towards the front. And The Rocket has liked this track. When I talked to him, he said he likes it. If the ruts develop, it's good for him. He kind of likes it that way, and it's a tougher track for the other guys to race on.
Mike LaRocco with a great podium last week in San Francisco. Nick Way, can't say enough about this guy. He's got a lot of pressure on him. He's riding for the Suzuki camp. A lot of guys injured there. It's been well documented, but Nick Way has come on and has been a real bright spot for Roger DeCoster and Suzuki.
On that last corner, you saw Mike LaRocco go to the inside like most guys are. Nick Way going to the outside. He gives up time there. You don't need to go to the outside to get that obstacle. That's one thing you got to look at. If you can get the obstacle from the inside, usually it's going to be faster that way.
So Nick Way, number 27, currently sits in 5th place. As we take a look at a quick running order, Reed, Windham, Langston, LaRocco, and Way, your top 5. This is the 250 main event from Houston, Texas. We'll have much more in just a moment. Can Kevin Windham reel in Chad Reed and pick up another win? We'll find out after this. Welcome back to Houston, a scary scene. Just moments ago, Grant Langston, his number 8 KTM going over there. There's Doc Bodner, asterisk medic doctor, on the scene right now. It's good to see Grant's legs are moving. He's fine, but that is straight up concrete. Let's look at it one more time.
Misjudges that, gets a little sideways and grabs the throttle going over the berm. Sometimes we call it whiskey throttle. When you just kind of grab it, you can't control it. And Grant landing on that concrete ever so hard. And we can only hope the best for Grant Langston. And
wow. You know, I think if there was any kind of padding down there, any dirt, I think he would have bounced back. But that is straight up concrete here at Reliant Stadium, and he just launched right onto it. Back to our leader. Chad Reed continues to lead here in the 250 main event. He's got a pretty good lead, but Kevin Windham starting to inch up a little closer.
Well, the last lap, half a second faster for Kevin Windham. So he's pulling up on your leader right now. The gap back, we'll check it as they go through the timing area.
Very close. Reed pulls down a 51.7. Reed a 51.7. Windham at 51.2. That's a half second he's picking up on it, Cameron. Now, has this become a question of fitness, do you think? And which of these two guys do you think is a better fit?
Well, that's a tough call. I mean, it does come down to fitness, but both of these guys, great trainers, doing a great job. I think that Kevin rides his bike a little harder. Chad finesses it a little bit more. Will that come into play? It could, but right now, Kevin looks like he's pulling up on our leader.
Chad Reed has won 4 of the last 6 races. Kevin Windham has picked up 2 victories this year, and these are 2 guys completely opposites of the spectrum, both of them extremely talented. The 2 best riders maybe on the planet right there. You might want to throw James Stewart in there as well, but Chad and Kevin, they have just formed a great rivalry. They have a lot of respect for each other, but Chad Reed right now has his hands full, and this is to the advantage of Kevin Windham. We talked about it earlier in the year, especially in Phoenix. He'd much rather be the pursuer than the pursuee.
And he doesn't get that triple through the rhythm section. I'm trying to look and see where Kevin's really making up his time on Chad, and it looks like just some of the acceleration, the 4-stroke maybe hooking up just a little bit better in some spots, so that could be a spot where he's picking it up.
As we slide back, we'll leave our leaders right now and go back to the battle for 4th. Right now, it's Nick Way and David Vuillemin who sits in 5th place. Mike LaRocco comfortably in 3rd. So Way has got his hand full right now, and David Vuillemin, number 12, on board the Yamaha. Michael Byrne also trying to get in there, right in the colors for Kawasaki. And Nick Way, number 27, look at that. Vuillemin just squares him off.
Just gets inside of him, and these guys are battling it out. And Vuillemin, who had a great heat race trying to chase down Kevin Windham, he needs to get on the gas and keep making moves. A great pass right there on Nick Way. Great run through the whoops, and Vuillemin always showing the speed. The start not being good for him tonight, and that's going to be unfortunate with Reed and Windham out front.
Mike LaRocco currently sits in 3rd. As we take a look at number 22, that is your leader, Chad Reed. He got the Butterfinger hole shot. He is led throughout. However, number 14, Kevin Windham, who has been a thorn in his side, is coming up as he comes into view right there. The lead right now down to about 25 yards. Kevin Windham on the gas. And Cameron, it looks like Chad Reed has spaced it out just a little bit. As we take a look at the lap times, the last lap time, it was Chad Reed checking in with a 51.7 and Windham with a 51.2.
So trying to find places where they can make up time, but again, you see that triple by Windham, but they're not really pulling up. He's not really pulling up on Reed, so it's kind of just a really tight battle. No one really, you know, a little bit of give, a little bit of take from each rider, but no one really making a huge move.
I think this is one of those races, and maybe you would agree, Kevin's going to need a mistake from Chad to make a move on him. He's going to need some kind of missing a shift or something, because he's just not right now getting the job done. As we take a look at the last lap time, Chad pulls out a 52.02 and Windham a 52.7. So there's Kevin Windham currently sitting in second, trying to track down Chad Reed. Right now, let's check in with Jamie Little.
Standing next to Kevin Windham's mechanic, it says 9 laps, study his lines. Guys, he also told him to catch his breath. He looks like he's getting a little tight.
Well, that answers that question right now. Maybe Kevin Windham, we've seen him in the past. Jamie's alluded to it. He looks so fit after these races. Over halfway, Cameron, we got 8 laps to go. It'll be interesting to see what kind of tactics Kevin Windham employs.
Well, you saw him in those last couple straights. He actually tagged a couple of landings coming just a little bit short. Not exactly the way he wants to. In Supercross, that's really going to cost you. Just maybe a quarter of a second here, quarter second there. I mean, if you're losing a second of a lap on a lap, that is a real problem.
And it's been a tough week for Kevin Windham. He left the race last week from San Francisco, where he didn't pick up the victory. A little disappointed there. Went to Ohio, had to appeal his 10 points in front of the AMA. Fortunate for him, he got him back. Then he goes back and he comes right down to Houston, Texas. So the man has been busy all week, and maybe he hasn't been on the bike enough.
Well, that could also be a factor that he lives really close by, only about 5 hours by car. We talked about that. Maybe there's a lot of family, a lot of things going on, and again, coming just a little bit of a tag there. Got to remember, smooth at all times, and that is how Chad Reed has been consistently winning.
So Kevin Windham inside that helmet is frantically trying to figure a way to close in on Chad Reed, who continues to lead. We'll find out if Kevin Windham comes up with the right combination or if Chad Reed lets him in. But so far, the Australian has looked smooth with no mistakes. Stick with us. We'll be back with more from Houston, Texas, as we take a look at our running order.
Carmichael versus Windham. 2-stroke versus 4-stroke. Honda versus Honda. This season, the battle for the motocross title was all about performance. And in the end, there were 2 winners. Kevin Windham and the CRF 450R, first of the 4-strokes, second overall. And Ricky Carmichael and the Honda CR 250R, back-to-back motocross champions. The battle is over. The winner is results.
This is the 250 main event. You are looking at number 14, Kevin Windham, currently sitting in second place, trying to track down number 22, Chad Reed, and the gap, unfortunately, is getting a little bigger. The last lap time, Reed checked in with a 52.2, and Kevin Windham a 53.9. So, Cameron, he's going the wrong way quick.
I wouldn't totally give up on him yet. He's still within the straightaway of him. It's time to really buckle down and work as hard as you can, but without making mistakes. And a lot of times when you're racing, you make mistakes when you push really hard. You catch those edges. It's a little bit different than outdoor motocross, where you can really hang it out. And here you got to be precise at all times. A great run through the whoops there for Windham once again as he's catching up. Looks like a lapper, looks like Mike Brown.
So Mike Brown, the Yamaha rider that sits in between Windham and Chad Reed. And I don't know if that was somewhat of a mirage for Kevin Windham, thinking I'm closing in on the Yamaha rider. Well, it's a Yamaha rider. It's just the wrong one. Mike Brown making the jump up from the 125s. He's in the 250 class. He's been lapped by Chad Reed, and here comes Kevin Windham. So as we take a look at it, it's Reed out in front, Windham trying to close him in. And let's check in with Jamie one more time.
Hey, guys, I just got word from Supercross doctors. They just took Langston off the course to check him out. Now, he said that he was complaining of hurting all over, but no specific area. So they're taking him in as a precaution, going to check him out. Hopefully everything's going to come out all right.
All right, thank you, Jamie. You hate to speculate on something like that. Cameron won't, but I tell you, he looked like he took a lot of that force right on that left shoulder.
So brutal landing on the concrete, and you're riding around on 12 to 13 inches of suspension and travel all night long, and all of a sudden you're getting off the bike. You're just kind of feeling weird about flying through the air without the bike, and boom, you land on the concrete. That's a hard way to stop.
That's about an 8-foot drop for Grant Langston. Speed not a big factor for him, but anytime you hit that hard, it's amazing. We wish Grant Langston all the best for a speedy recovery, and hopefully we'll see him in Minneapolis next week. Meanwhile, Chad Reed, number 22, the Australian, continues to lead on board the Yamaha, sponsored by Yamaha and Thor and Scott, getting the job done right now as we slide back. This is the battle for 6th place. There's Michael Byrne right now, and he's got his hands full, looks like with number 28, Heath Voss.
Heath Voss on the Mach 1 No Fear Yamaha going by there, and a great run for Heath Voss. And he's needed to really come up with the result. He's becoming a factor slowly here in the World Supercross points. He's moved up a bit, and with Grant Langston going out, this opens up some doors for those guys that were second, third, and fourth, and Heath Voss is right in that mix, and right now getting past Michael Byrne, that's a huge step for him.
Consistency, such a big factor in Supercross. You got to finish to get the points, and Kevin Windham right there, as he went to the finish line, he came up short and was unable to double, so he had to roll through that, and that gives Chad Reed just a little bit more of a lead as we check back. Nathan Ramsey now getting into it.
So Nate Ramsey, who won the 125 class at the last West race just a week ago, right now challenging on the big bike. Remember, he broke his femur just a year ago, really, and he has confidence. I don't know if something's going on with Michael Byrne here. He just seems to be not as on it as he was. I don't know if it's training. I really don't think so, because Byrne is a great trainer. He has good fitness, and Nate Ramsey going right on by.
So Ramsey picks up a position on Byrne as he goes in to the corner, and Byrne continues to slide backwards. I know something's got to be going on there, whether it's fitness or injury. Here comes Voss one more time, coming up on Nick Way, who currently sits in 5th place. Voss in 6th.
And when I talked to Heath Voss a while back, he told me he has kind of a different riding style than a lot of guys. He's not always just precise. He kind of grew up hanging it out. When he raced in the amateur classes, his dad said, he told me his dad moved him up through the classes really fast. So he always kind of hung it out, never just rode at one level. So that's kind of the way he rides, just going for it all the time.
Heath Voss, number 28 on the Yamaha, coming up on the outside of number 27, Nick Way, shifts back into the inside and hooks up.
Getting to the inside move there, hopping through those whoops. Heath Voss on the move and continuing to rock on through. Coming through a 54.5 for that last lap. So it's a little bit faster than Way, but doing what it takes to move up.
So Nick Way slides back one position in 6th. We'll see if he can move back into a top 5. This is the battle for 5th. Heath Voss, number 28, on board the Yamaha. We saw him earlier in the heat race, really giving the business to some of the other riders. A big, tough kid who knows how to ride the bike. Nick Way now back on the charts, but Way's got a rider coming in right behind him, and that's 25, Nathan Ramsey, coming back for more.
Well, Ramsey definitely could become a factor here moving up into this pack. And well, you know, one thing about Heath Voss, he's riding out of that semi all by himself. Ezra Lusk breaking a bone in his hand, not able to come back after that crash in the whoops last week. A huge bummer, because Ezra really had been on his game, but I know part of the team, they've been working together, and maybe he's just feeling like, hey, I got to step it up a notch and do it for my teammate.
This is the 250 main event from Reliant Stadium in Houston, Texas. Todd Harris along with Cameron Steele and Jamie Little. We're down to the final 2 laps here. It has been Chad Reed's show all the way. He got the whole shot. Kevin Windham starting to put some pressure on him as Chad Reed has taken the white flag. He is out in front, but it looked like around lap 13 or 14, Cameron, Kevin just ran out of answers for Chad's speed.
Well, maybe just settling. I don't know. It's a long series, but after this, I believe Chad will be at least 25 points or one race ahead in the point series. And you can't let him get a one-race cushion on him. And if nothing happens here that would surprise us, a crash or something from Chad, he's going to move into that position.
Well, Chad Reed never wastes any time, doesn't waste any energy. And you can see just 4 or 5 laps ago, Kevin Windham was within 100 yards. He is now 200 yards back of Chad Reed. Chad will make 2 more turns. There's one of them. And the speed of Reed pays off one more time. He picks up the whole shot, and he picks up his 5th victory this year. Chad Reed, your winner, 250 main event. Kevin Windham will have to settle for 2nd. When we come back, we'll talk to our winner and find out how he did it. Texas at the conclusion of a very exciting 250 main event. As we take a look at our Honda main event results, it's once again Chad Reed picking up a victory, followed by Kevin Windham, Mike LaRocco, David Vuillemin, and Heath Voss. Nick Way holding off Nathan Ramsey, and Sean Hamblin checks in for a good finish. Tim Ferry, despite his injury, finishes off 11th. Right now, let's send it down to Jamie Little.
That's right, Todd. I'm down here right now with 2 very familiar faces to the podium. Right here, though, birthday boy turning 33 2 days ago. Mike, you're still out there charging, getting on the podium week in and week out. Tell me about your battle with Nick Way, David Vuillemin, and a few others tonight.
Well, you know, my start's been getting better, but, you know, the worst thing that happened tonight was Chad got the whole shot, and he started off in a real good pace, and, you know, I was back just trying to work my way up to be in the battle, and by the time I got to 3rd, those guys
had left me. But, you know, the bike worked real well, and I've been getting decent starts and, you know, keeping the Amsoil Chaparral bike on the podium. So, you know, it's not all bad.
All right. Let's move over here. Second place, Kevin Windham. K-Dub, you didn't get the best start in the world, but you worked your way up. You were on fire. We thought you were really improving on Chad. It looked like you kind of let off a little bit.
Yeah, I did. You know, wasn't a planned deal. I tightened up a little bit. I was really pushing hard those opening laps, trying to get up with Chad, and it kind of took its toll on me. This week was you know, less than the best week for me to be riding, but no excuses. You know, Chad rode a great ride. You know, I'm looking forward to remaining back east, getting a little bit more used to this dirt, and making a run at him next weekend.
Thanks. It all culminates in Las Vegas, Nevada, the official destination of Supercross, as we check our points after this round has been completed. And we'll see on the AMA side, it is still Chad Reed out in front, and his margin of lead continues to grow. Right now, let's send it down to Jamie Little.
Well, Chad Reed continues to rack him up. I just said, how many wins is that? 5 now? He goes, I don't know. So I checked on his jersey. You know, he's got his numbers lined up. But Chad, oh my gosh, you lapped up to 9th place. How do you do that?
You know, I felt good coming into the weekend, and the first time I stepped out on the track, I just felt good. You know, I felt like the Dirt Wax guys, you know, when they deserve credit, I give it to them, and they done a great job this weekend and gave us a track to race on, and it was a lot of fun. I want to thank the guys at Thor Putnam there for you know, making me look cool out there, the guys at Yamaha, and you know, give a big shout out and happy Valentine's to Ellie.
All right, thank you, Jamie. Our next show comes to you on the 22nd of February at 4 and 5 p.m. Eastern Time from Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's the 125 East and the 250. A great night of racing here in Houston, Texas. Your winner in the 250 main, Chad Reed, pulling off his 5th victory of the year. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Good night from Houston.